Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal. Do let me know if you can hear me and this is all working okay. Missed you all. Obviously, been away on holiday for a while. Did do a video a couple of days ago, but thought as I'm back now, why not try one of these? It's been a while since I've done one of my Q&As, so thought I'd get involved, talk to you, answer some of your questions, have a bit of debate. We're sort of getting very, very close now to the start of the season. Only what day is it today? Thursday. 8 days away from Brentford on that Friday at night, Friday the 13th. What could possibly go wrong right there? And obviously Arsenal have been doing a bit of business in the transfer window so far. 3 new arrivals. Ben White, the biggest of the lot so far. They want to do more. Hasn't happened yet. I know a fair few of you are a little bit concerned and tetchy about the state of Arsenal's squad going into the new seasons. Not surprised. I tend to agree with you. There's still plenty of work to be done. This big summer overhaul that was billed the unprecedented summer, as Mikel Arteta described it, hasn't really kicked into gear yet. There are some reasons for that, which we can talk about on here. Hopefully my Wi-Fi holds up, because last time I tried to do this, it was a bit of a nightmare. And my Wi-Fi fell out, and if that happens again, I do apologise, but hopefully not. My kids are out, so they're not streaming YouTube and Netflix and everything downstairs, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we get through this one. All right, let's get going, shall we? Lots of you saying welcome back. Thank you very much. Chris is one of those. Appreciate that. What's this? Jim, tough crowd. Missed you last week. Yeah, no, apologies. I was in Devon. Very nice it was as well. Bit of a family break. No goal hasn't stopped the videos. Just having a bit of a break. Need a bit of downtime. Kids on school holidays as well. I'm off again for a week, straight after the Brentford game, unfortunately. But I am here while I'm off that week, so I'll still try and do a few videos if I can when I get a few minutes. Let's start with this, shall we? Seen someone called Super Noodles. Oh, no, wrong one. I'll get back to you, whoever that was. Let's start with this one from Super Noodles. Bristol Rovers. Badge there. I'm trying to remember last time I went to Bristol Rovers. I saw when I was reporting on Reading, I went there for a pre-season friendly once. Hi, Charles. Any news on a potential backup to Leno? Still ongoing. Obviously, I reported earlier in the summer about Arsenal's interest for Andre Onana. They haven't followed up that interest, really. It looks like he well may be Inter Milan bound. Has turned down a move to Lyon recently. There's talk that he will end up at Inter Milan, possibly not till next season or in January. Arsenal, as far as I'm aware, haven't firmed up their interest in Andre Onana. I think possibly they're a little bit disappointed that his ban wasn't reduced further and that they would have to wait until November. I think, I don't know, it kind of feels like that's one that might come back to bite Arsenal when it comes to Andre Onana, because he's a top quality goalkeeper and he was available there for very, very cheap. And if you get that deal done, even if you have to wait a few months before you can play him, feels like one that they might well live to regret. There is absolutely interest in Aaron Ramsdale. I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, and that it wouldn't be that popular a signing, especially at the money being quoted, but the interest is there in Aaron Ramsdale. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that move forward at some point in the next few weeks as we get towards the end of the window. Possibly Arsenal will see if Sheffield United's stance will soften a little bit in terms of their money, but he is a player that they like and they're interested in him. But again, it's not nothing's moved forward, and a little bit concerning about that when you think about how close we are to new season now, and you've basically got Bernd Leno, who's just come back, didn't look great in the game against Chelsea by all accounts. I only watched the highlights. And then you've got, Runnelson's still here. He's moved to Turkey. He's fallen through. Obviously, Arthur Okonkwo as well. But they need to get a goalkeeper sorted, Arsenal, and need to get another backup keeper. And you would think that's got to be an absolute priority as we head towards the start of the season. Interesting one, this from Real Nod. Why can't we promote any academy fullbacks? It's just what happened to Ozzy Tutu. Well, he's obviously been out on loan, Ozzy Tutu, a lot in the last few years. He was over in Germany with Bochum, then he went to Cardiff last season. You know, he's a good player. He's been playing this season for the under-23s. He's a decent player. There was a lot of surprise. He didn't really get the sort of push towards the first team that a lot of players that were similar age to him did. I feel like the time has probably passed for OC2 to Arsenal. Wouldn't be surprised if he heads out somewhere this summer before the end of the window, possibly on a permanent deal. But in terms of why can't promote any other academy fullbacks, they just clearly hasn't got anyone that they feel is ready yet. The left side has been an issue for Arsenal, but they didn't feel like there was anyone there that they could promote recently while Tierney was injured or anything like that. There's Joel Lopez from Barcelona. I know they do rate his qualities on the ball, but potentially a little bit slight for the Premier League. So yeah, it's something that they'll look to improve on. I think there's a couple decent coming up below, sort of 17-year-old now, who might be able to make a bit of an impact over the next few years, but just not been good enough so far, really. I'd rather he kept Willock like Chelsea have kept Loftus-Cheek. Yeah, I've had my say on Willock before, I have to admit, on this one, and I can understand people wanting to keep him. I mean, it's tough when you're this is an Arsenal side who don't score goals from midfield, and then you've got Joe Willock who does score goals from midfield, and you can't underestimate what he did for Newcastle at the end of last season. 7 goals in 7 games at such a crunch time of the season when the pressure was on for them. Fantastic achievement. Came on against Chelsea, scored a perfectly good goal. Obviously, it wasn't given because there was no VAR and they didn't spot it was over the line. But again, he was in a position to score inside of the box. And so on one hand, you look at that and think, why would you possibly sell him when he struggled to score from midfield? You've got a goal scoring midfielder there. But I still watch Joe Willock, and maybe I'm being harsh. And obviously, I didn't see him every minute of how he played again when he was up at Newcastle. But I still wonder, is this the best time to sell him? Because I'm not sure. From what I have seen of him when he's played for Arsenal, I think he's looked pretty decent, and he's a player they haven't really got anyone else like. But I'm not sure he's going to get better, much better. And I feel like if you don't take the money for him now, that his price will plummet. I feel like you're in the best position to get as much money as possible for him now. And so kind of you got to take it. I feel if anyone does get to around the sort of £25 million mark, £25 million mark for Joe Willock this summer, I think if it helps you go out and, bring in a Maddison, bring in a Houssem Aouar, then I feel like you've got to do it really for me. But I can understand, Cook, exactly what you're saying there. And I know there's plenty of you who kind of agree. This is a hard one for me to answer. Yash, how much do you think Arsenal will spend from now until the end of the window? I mean, it's just impossible for me to answer. We don't know how much money they're going to bring in, if any. They haven't brought in any money yet this window. But, if they can make a couple of significant sales, say a Willock, a Ainsley Maitland-Niles, a Bellerin, then you're going to help with that. You're going to, that's going to help. That's going to add to the transfer funds. So I can't just give an absolute figure. I think they'll spend. I think they're willing to spend if they can get a deal done for someone. But they've already spent £75 million this summer, and when you think of the money Arsenal have lost and what other clubs have spent, it's not an insignificant amount. It's a lot of money, especially when they haven't brought any funds in yet. So how much? Possibly another 50. I don't know. It depends. They want it. They will try and get something done for an attacking midfielder, whether it be Maddison, whether that proves impossible, whether it ends up being an Aouar, or I think they will certainly try and get an attacking midfielder, and they'll get a goal and they'll get a goalkeeper. So you just to get those two players in the current market, if you want quality players, you're looking at £50 million plus for those two combined. So I think they'll spend more, and then you're looking at a transfer window of over £100 million, well over £100 million for Arsenal. Another one here, Dre's talking about stay with Willock. Why are we selling him? I've already obviously spoken about him as well, and I can understand why plenty of you feel like this. I've given my thoughts on him already. Maddison, Odegaard, or Willock. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Nasha. You asking who I would prefer out of that lot? This is an interesting one. I think certainly if I'm going to pick out of those 3, it'd either be Maddison or Odegaard. I think Maddison gives you much more of a goal threat. I think Odegaard's got the potential to have much more of a goal threat in his game. And I thought he did very, very well last season. And, I would not turn down if someone said, look, you're going to have Martin Odegaard, then I would sign him. I think he's a very, very good player. And I think he's got so much room to get better and get more goals in his game, get himself more assists. But I think Maddison, he knows the Premier League. He's suited. He will score your goals. I think he'll get more than Odegaard. So I think I'd probably just about go with Maddison because of that. But you haven't thrown Houssem Aouar in that, and I have to admit I'm a big Houssem Aouar fan. I think he's half the price of both of those two. I think he's certainly a goal threat. We know that he can score goals, he can create goals. He's still young. If I was Arsenal, I'd be all over Houssem Aouar this summer. I have to say. With no European games midweek, do you see the current squad improving, or has it reached its potential? It certainly hasn't reached its potential. It's a young squad, so it's certainly going to improve. I think Emil Smith-Rowe has got masses of improvement to come. I talk about the goal threat there. You know, Smith-Rowe didn't score too many last season, but he is a player who can score you plenty of goals. And I think he's going to get that in his game. You look at other players in and around, similar players to Smith-Rowe around the Premier League, and how that sort of their goal rate is improved as they've got older. I absolutely think that will happen with Smith-Rowe. We saw it with likes of Fabregas when he was playing for Arsenal as well. You know, first few seasons he didn't score too many, then suddenly it all kicked off. You know, Smith-Rowe's got the potential to score loads of goals. He gets into good positions. He just needs to calm down a little bit. I think Xhaka can score more goals as well. I think he's only going to get better. I'm really excited by Sambi as well. He's come in, obviously 21 years old. He's going to grow as he adjusts to the Premier League and gets used to it and starts settling down as well. Kieran Tierney's only going to get better. You got Gabriel and Ben White young. You know, the potential of this team is big. It's a lot of potential at Arsenal. And I just feel you need a couple more. No doubt they need a couple more signings this summer. They need a new right back. They need to sort that situation out for me. I can't believe they haven't done it yet. And it's mad that we're at this stage of the season. At the summer, it looks like still you got Chambers, Cedric and Bellerin here. That's a situation they've got to try and sort out in the next few weeks and potentially bring someone in. I mean, I haven't heard any links to any right back. Anyone that I've been speaking to, no one's really mentioned anything about a right back to me. So, you know, whether that's been kept under wraps or whether they've shelved that for now and they've decided they're going to go with Callum Chambers for the season, we'll have to wait and see. Personally, for me, I think they need to get a better right back in, an out-and-out right back, because Chambers isn't an out-and-out right back for me. So they do. The squad can absolutely improve. It hasn't reached its potential yet, but they need to bring in some new signings as well. This is a hard one, Maduka. In your opinion, is Maddison looking like a transfer that will happen? It's really hard. I mean, it's just I can't answer it at this stage because, you know, there's so far to go in this one. Arsenal are interested in James Maddison. We've spoken about it before. We know that. You know, the money's going to be very, very big. Maybe Fofana's injury, which was horrible, was awful to see that yesterday. Maybe that would potentially help because Leicester are now going to need to sign a centre-back and they might need some money to do that. Maybe they'll prompt Leicester into deciding, okay, we need to sell one player here. And if Arsenal can get something done for Maddison, they will. But it's so far off being anything that's even remotely done. I mean, he was playing for Leicester yesterday. Brendan Rodgers has said he doesn't want to sell anyone this summer. So Arsenal are going to have to put the money down. This whole talk of swap deals and all that, I just don't see there's any player that Leicester are going to want from Arsenal that is going to sweeten that deal. I think if Arsenal are going to sign Maddison, they're going to have to pay the full price. I just don't see Leicester wanting a Maitland-Niles or Willock or Nelson and Eddie Nketiah. I can't see it. Leicester are very smart when it comes to their transfers. You talk to anyone in and around Leicester, anyone who knows that club and the way it operates and the way they work in the transfer market, they are very smart. And just getting a player sort of thrown on them as part of a swap deal, I just don't think that's going to happen. So if Arsenal are going to sign Maddison, they are going to have to spend 50, 60, 65, 70 million pounds even. Whatever Leicester want, Arsenal are going to have to hit that because Leicester are in a strong position when it comes to him. It feels like it's one that might end up going towards the end of the transfer window. Maybe Maddison could be key if he really starts pushing for a move that might help Arsenal's cause. But, you know, it's right now as it stands. I'd be surprised if Arsenal got Maddison, but that's just opinion. That's not based on anything. They do want him. It's up to Arsenal. They've got to put the money down. If they do that, they can get him. If they don't, then it's not going to happen. It's an interesting one. Abraham gone and Martinez gone. Well, I mean, Abraham hasn't gone yet. There's talk of other clubs being involved. We're seeing Atlanta linked with him at the moment. You know, I mean, Arsenal haven't bid for Tammy Abraham or anything like that, so I'm not sure if the case is gone. It's a case of nothing's happened yet with Abraham. I think he'll certainly leave Chelsea, especially if Lukaku arrives, and you know Arsenal might decide to really press forward and sort of firm up the kind of interest that they've got in him. In terms of Martinez, that's one that I've not really tracked too much. It will happen while I was away, and I haven't heard anything myself on it. But you know, if Inter Milan are going to sell Lukaku to Chelsea, they can't really then sell Martinez, even if he hasn't if he isn't agreeing a contract, because they're going to be very short on strikers, and it wouldn't be ideal for the league champions to sell their 2 top strikers going into the new season. So it'd be a surprise, but we'll have to wait and see. But in terms of Lautaro links, I mean, other people have been asking me. It's just not one I can really talk about at the moment, because it's not one that I've heard of myself, if it's genuine or not. I've seen a lot of it coming over from Italy. There has been talk over here that it's that there is interest, but I don't think any bid or anything like that. Far from it. It's certainly not got to that stage or anything like it. This is an interesting one. Glad to see you back. What's your opinion on the Granit Xhaka U-turn? Well, this is a big surprise. I mean, he was halfway out the door, Xhaka, after 5 years, and now he's firmly back in North London and on his way to getting himself a new contract. See, my opinion on it is I can understand Arsenal keeping him. They had a price. Roma didn't get there. So you don't want to just give away a player who's 28. He's hitting his peak. Had an incredibly good Euros. Is a good player. I'm not having this Granit Xhaka is awful. He's not. And he's very important to Arsenal. As we've seen, when he's not in the team, not in central midfield, Arsenal are a weaker team for it. Having said that, I do feel this was a time to shake things up and move Xhaka on and bring someone else in who could improve it. Because although I'm saying that Xhaka is important to Arsenal, and I do believe he is, I think you can certainly improve on him and bring in a new player to be the long-term partner to Thomas Partey. And I was hoping that this summer was going to be that summer. Clearly, Arsenal were happy to let him go, or they were open to letting him go if their price tag was met. That hasn't happened, and now he's coming. What I don't really understand is the new contract. He's still got 2 years left on his deal. He's going to be 29 in September. Why are you tying him to a new deal? It's not really protecting his value, because let's face it, there is going to be no value. If he stays for another year, he's in his 30s basically. He's going to be hard to shift because he's got a long-term contract. He's on decent wages. There isn't really any value there. So I just don't understand giving him the new deal. Suddenly you're going to find yourself in a couple of years' time with Xhaka, who you would think would certainly not be a regular starter at that point when he's 30. You'd think Arsenal would have shaken things up in the midfield department, and he's still going to have another couple of years left, and you're going to find it incredibly hard to shift him. So I don't really understand the deal. Maybe it was done because, he knew he wanted to go. Arsenal knew he wanted to go. Arsenal were happy to let him go, but then Arsenal blocked the move because the money didn't arrive that they wanted. So maybe they've said to him, okay, look, you stay, we'll give you, I mean, it's not a significant pay rise or anything like that. So it's like, okay, we'll give you what Roma are offering. So that's your 4 years security that Roma were giving you. And we know we've blocked your move happening. So we'll just match up what Roma are giving you. And that will mean that Xhaka's still happy. And then you can come on. It means you don't have an unhappy player on your hands. So potentially that's the reason they've done it. But for me, I can understand him staying, but I'm not sure about the new contract thing. That one's a bit baffling to me. Arsenal going to drop out the top 10. Akil, come on. Positivity, please. I don't think they're going to drop out the top 10. Like I've said already, I think Arsenal, this squad has got potential. I think we saw it over the second half of last season that they were better than perhaps the 8th place finish showed, but they can't have any complaints because they're so miserable before Christmas when they were dreadful. I think the start's going to be difficult. They've obviously not got the easiest of fixtures early on. I think they're a little bit light in terms of their squad. They need to sort that out, but I don't think they're going to drop out of the top 10. I think it's going to be hard to get back in the top 4, even with no European football and just being able to concentrate week in, week out. I think that if they're going to do that, they need to have a big final few weeks of the transfer window. But I think we're going to, I would hope that we see an improvement on the 8th place. I mean, if we don't, then Arteta is going to be sacked, and he has to be sacked. If they don't improve on 8th place or look like they're going to improve on 8th place halfway through the season, then Arteta should not be in the job anymore. He won't have any excuses left. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Arteta said they had a plan. Could you ask them if everything is going according to that plan? Well, we'll have that opportunity next Wednesday. I think it'll be Mikel Arteta's first real press conference of the summer ahead of that game against Brentford on Friday. So I don't know if I'm going to be on the panel for that. How press conference work at Arsenal in the COVID era is a certain few journalists get picked to ask the questions at the start of each week. They kind of rotate it a little bit, and I don't know if I'm going to be on the panel for the first one or not. If I'm not on the panel, then I'm not able to ask questions, but I'm sure whoever is on the panel, if it's not me, will be able to ask the question, and they will certainly ask this sort of question: is the summer going to plan or not? So I would expect that next Wednesday, yes. I think Willock will end up going. I think that will happen. In terms of Reece Nelson, then he certainly should. I mean, James Benge, who I'm sure you'll know, very good Arsenal reporters, reporting that Palace absolutely want to sign Reece Nelson. at the moment, but potentially looking on loan. The thing is with Arsenal and Nelson, if they do send him out on loan, he's out of contract at the end of the season. So understandably, Arsenal would want him to sign a new contract before sending him out on loan, and that would absolutely protect their investment. And I can absolutely understand why Arsenal are looking to do that. So I think he needs to go. There's no point in staying because he's not going to play. Let's face it. He wasted the second half of last season, and we don't want to see that happen again. Nothing at the moment, Frankie, in terms of what is happening with Willian. He's always been due to report back. I know there was all the talk when he was over in the States that he was going to get this big Orlando City move and that he turned it down and all that. But from people that I've spoken to at Arsenal, they always were expecting him back for pre-season, and he's back. I think Willian is just going to be very, very hard to shift, isn't he? They've made a big clanger with that transfer. I'm not going to absolutely criticise them for the transfer because at the time I thought it was a decent one, but it's clearly absolutely backfired and it's turned into a miserable deal. And now they're going to be stuck with another underperforming player who's not going to be playing very often on big wages. And yeah, it's just an unfortunate one. Alan Matthews. Hi, Charles. What do you think about Lucas getting his chance at Arsenal? He was good until he was put out of position by Emery. What's your thoughts? Definitely an upgrade on Nelnoni. Yeah, Lucas Torreira, the forgotten man almost. Lucas Torreira should be back soon. I think he's flown to Spain from Uruguay because then he doesn't have to isolate as long in Spain. And when he comes back to London, I still think Torreira will go in this transfer window, possibly another loan. I'd be surprised. He just doesn't really feature in Arteta's plans. I think Torreira's head's a little bit gone as it is. We know that. Doesn't really want to be in England, doesn't really want to be at Arsenal. So I'd be very surprised if Lucas Torreira gets a chance this season. I think he'll end up heading out on loan again. If you're joining me late, and I've already kind of spoken about Maddison, lots of you see here, Rasmus, Kevin, all talking about James Maddison. There's not really much more I can give you at the moment. Arsenal are interested, but it's not really gone any further than that. And it's basically a case of Leicester would be saying, pay up. If you want James Maddison, pay the money. Arsenal aren't going to pay the money. All this talk about swap deals and stuff and players going out on loan, I can't see Leicester accepting any of Arsenal's basically outcasts. I mean, Leicester are better. Let's face it, they've been better than Arsenal for a good few seasons now. And if Arsenal are trying to get rid of players that they don't want to play, why would Leicester want them? It just doesn't really make any sense to me. And Leicester, as I've said, are very smart in the transfer market. They've got a clear plan in how they bring players in and how they do deals. They're just not going to accept. I'd be very, very surprised if they accept a player that Arsenal are just saying, look, have him and let us have Maddison on the cheap. Just can't see it. Arsenal are going to have to spend big money if they want James Maddison. And basically the ball is in their court. Do you think Arsenal have had a good and will have a good transfer window? Right now, no, I don't really think they've had a good transfer window. I think, like all clubs, they're really struggling to sell players, and that's been a big problem. So many players should have been out the door by now. They aren't. No one's putting up the money, and it's not just an Arsenal issue. It's everywhere. Everyone's struggling to sell players. The buying market is really, really low. I like the signing of Ben White. I think he's very, very exciting. I think he's going to be an excellent player. I like the signing of Tavares and Sambi Lokonga, sorry, before you'll kill me for the pronunciation. And so I like what they've done so far in the window, but they need to do more. They've got to they've got to bring in an attacking midfielder. You can't just rely on a 20-year-old Emil Smith-Rowe. As much as I love Smith-Rowe, you can't just rely on him. Him and Bukayo Saka had to shoulder so much of the burden during that second half of last season and drag Arsenal up from the abyss that they'd found themselves in. You can't do that to them. Again, you've got to give them some support. So they've got to bring in another attacking midfielder for me. If they don't, they're going to be in serious problems. They're going to have serious problems this season. Once again, we've seen it in pre-season already. And I would have liked to have seen them sign a central midfielder as well. And I think, as I've said, they need to sign a right back, and they definitely need to sign a backup goalkeeper. So there's still so much to do. So if you're asking me if I think Arsenal had a good transfer window, no, at this stage, I don't think they have. But having said that, I can kind of understand it as well because of all the difficulties that every single club's facing at the window. And unfortunately, unless you've got an Abramovich, unless you're Manchester City, you're not going to get around it too much. And Arsenal, you've got to remember, have spent £75 million already this window, and they've brought nothing in themselves. So they have spent money. Right, how long we got? 25 minutes. So I'll take a couple more of these, and then then I'm going to head off. You guys, I'm going to scroll through. They're all very, very similar. I've spoken about most of these, so there's no point in me just repeating myself. Well, this is an interesting one, although it's going to be hard to think of straight away on the top of off the bat. Hi, Charles. What is your realistic dream starting lineup for the new season? Oh God, that's hard. I mean, I have to say Leno in goal because I just can't see him going out and signing another goalkeeper between now and then. So it'll be Leno in goal. I would have loved to have seen Hakimi at right back. Clearly, that wasn't going to happen. I don't really know who I'd want. I like Max Aarons, and I'm really interested to see how good he could be if he comes to the Premier League from Norwich. Well, we're going to see him in the Premier League this season anyway in Norwich. But so I wouldn't mind Max Aarons at right back. He's a right back that excites me, and I think it's got a lot of potential. I really want to see Ben White. I'm looking forward to see Ben White and Gabriel as your centre back partnership. Obviously, Kieran Tierney at the left. In central midfield, I would certainly like to see Thomas Partey. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen because of his injury, but Partey alongside a really sort of dynamic midfielder. I love Basuma. So Partey and Basuma as a midfield two for me. Then I'd go Pepe right, Saka right, Smith Rowe, number 10, or even Smith. Oh, it's tough. It's really tough. Smith Rowe 10. Pepe left, and a new striker for me. I like Auba, but I'm a bit worried about Auba. He's not shown signs in the pre-season that he's going to get back. Hopefully, saving up all the goals for the real season. But a Martinez would be exciting. It would bring something new, something fresh to an attack that really needs freshening up. So possibly a Martinez over there. Like I said, I would like to see Houssem Aouar as well. I'm not sure what Aouar's best position would be. He's not really an out-and-out 10, I don't think. So, maybe squeeze Aouar in there somewhere for me. If Maddison, again, you play Maddison potentially as an 8. If you brought in a Maddison, you could almost go 4-3-3 for Arsenal because he sees himself an 8. He doesn't really see himself as a number 10. I know he can play kind of off the left as well, but you sort of play him as almost as a 4-3-3. You could have Partey and Basuma there with Maddison ahead of him. Then you could have Xhaka, Smith Rowe, and Martinez leading the line. But look, we're talking Championship manager, football manager type stuff there. It's just it's not going to happen, is it? It's just far too much money. He's not forgotten, Assad. He's far from. Look, he's over at the Olympics at the moment, playing for Brazil. Hopefully, going to win the gold medal for Brazil. Great penalty for him in the penalty shootout. He's just not forgotten. He's just very, very young. He did start playing again towards the end of last season. He got his chances. He scored a couple of goals. Look, I think Martinelli's still going to play a lot of games this season and going to be heavily involved for Arsenal. This is an interesting one. It's going to be my last one today. It's been lots of talk about Bruno Guimaraes. And look, this is one that happened last summer as well. And there was lots of talk about it, certainly from over in Brazil. But Arsenal were always adamant last summer that this was not a deal that was going to happen. It didn't happen. Whether they have shown any interest in, I haven't heard it myself this summer from him. He's a very, very good player. He's over at the Olympics at the moment, so nothing's going to happen. So potentially that is something that could, once he gets back and from the Olympics, where he's concentrating on that fully now with Brazil. Edu's very strong links with Bruno and the people who represent Bruno. So it's one that could happen, that could easily happen. But whether it will, it kind of feels to me very much like last summer when there was a lot of noise about it. But from Arsenal's point of view, it wasn't one that was going to happen. So I'd be surprised, but he certainly fits the bill with the type of player you'd want in that midfield. But I think the fact that Granit Xhaka's now staying makes it even more unlikely for me. All right, everyone, that's it. We're up to nearly half an hour now. Thankfully, the Wi-Fi held up. Thank you very much for joining. I do appreciate it. As always, thanks for all your questions. I know there's plenty of you that I didn't get to bring these questions up, but a lot of them were very, very similar. There's no point in me just sitting here repeating over and over again, answering the same things. So thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll speak to you very, very soon. Have a good one, everyone.